Welcome back, folks. Brad here. You'll notice I didn't say welcome to Piney Grove because today I am not at Piney Grove. Today I am at my hunting lease in Gulf County. We got 1,200 acres out here. There's 3 of us that are retired Air Force that are on this lease, and I've been on it for about 13 years. Now, normally I would be out here every weekend, keeping the place up and planting and doing all the things that a hunting lease requires. But since we bought Piney Grove, I spend most of my time there working on that. But today is the 2nd of October, and my food plots are overgrown. This food plot behind me is about a 3-acre food plot. It's what we call a community food plot, where any of the members can hunt over it. So I might hit this one a little bit. One of the other members has already been keeping it mowed down this summer. But mine are wildly overgrown. They're probably 5-6 foot tall, so we'll get to them. I have about 4 food plots totaling about 2 acres, and it'll probably take me all day to mow them because they're very irregular. They're not easy to mow. As I rolled up on this food plot, it came around the corner. There's 3 deer out here. There's not a lot to eat. There's a little bit of clover left from last fall's planting, but there was 3 deer out here, so that was cool to see. There's plenty of deer out here. It's just they're wild animals, so they don't exactly cooperate. They don't let you see them when you want to see them. So stay tuned. I'm going to get this truck and tractor in position and unload it and get to bush hogging. Okay, I'm suited up and ready to go. I've got a little chamois cloth wet towel here around my neck. I got my sun protection for my neck, got eye protection, got a sweatband, and my floppy Columbia hat, and my wicking Columbia shirt. I also sprayed down a little bit with some DEET because the mosquitoes are notoriously bad out here. You see a long road behind me and another long road behind me, and my hunting areas are at the end of those roads, so I'm going to spend about an hour or so getting the roads cleaned up and then work on the plots. All right, folks, this is going to be a long day. I just spent probably 2 hours on this road, and it was really, really closed in, and it had a lot of thick brush along the side, so I was backing the tractor up to the edge. It's very deep ditches on each side, but this road is easily twice, if not 3 times as wide as it was when I drove in about 2 hours ago. Tractor's running great, not overheating, everything's good to go. Working her hard, though. I am going to grease up my tail wheel and this tail wheel bushing here on the top because it's been getting a workout. We're going to work on this road next, and that's one of my primary hunting areas. I've seen 3 adult deer, 1 adult doe, and then I think I saw 2 fawns come right here down this road and go by my truck. So bush hogging along the edge of this ditch bank. It looks like a black snake. I don't think it's a water moccasin. He's up here on this tree limb. He actually fell off. There he goes. You can see him moving now. But it's pretty thick along this ditch bank. You can see my condo there in the background. But what I'm doing is backing up every 5 feet and just kind of trimming this down so I can see deer and anything else that might come across. It's cool to watch things like bobcats and raccoons or whatever that's using the area, but you can see the deer condo in the background. Okay, so it's almost noon, 11:45-ish, and I got that road done down to my hunting area down there, and I did a little bit of the plot, and I did some shooting lanes. So this road behind me is done, widened considerably, probably I don't know, 4 passes would be 20 feet, maybe 25 feet, and the same here. I pushed back the wild and keep things from slapping the side of my truck and keep the briars and the other bigger brush back. But I'm going to grab that leaf blower, and I'm gonna start cleaning this tractor off and then fill her up with fuel and then take you along for the ride down to the food plot. So if I haven't mentioned it, this is a Kubota 3901, 2017 tractor, got 220 some hours on it, hydrostatic drive. It's been doing fine with this 5-foot bush hog. I've had it in some very, very thick stuff today. It's only bogged down a few times, but the grass that I'm mowing, at least on the roads, is really short, so it's not a challenge at all. These food plots are pretty thick. It's gonna bog down. It's 5-foot King Kutter bush hog. It's the one I resealed if you haven't seen that video, but the seal on that's holding strong. Got, I don't know, 8-10 hours on this bush hog now with some extreme bush hogging, and it's doing well. All right, so what I was doing was blowing out this radiator. Normally I'd pull out the screen, but it wasn't really that impacted with the tops of grasses and seeds and dust and stuff like that. But in the video you saw how much dust I was pushing out of that engine. This engine's running mid-temperature on the temperature gauge. So there's no worry that it's overheating, but the last thing I want to do is overheat a diesel engine or any engine, but that would be the death of it. So I want to keep that radiator nice and clean, keep air flowing through that radiator, keep this tractor cool. And otherwise it's fine. Did a quick inspection, just need to fuel it up. As I mentioned, this is extreme bush hogging. This isn't your normal just bush hogging a pasture. I'm knocking down trees that literally are as big as your ankle, if not your knee. I'm going in at them at a high angle to top them off, and then I'm knocking the stumps out with this beefed up bush hog. A normal bush hog would not be able to do that. This is a King Kutter 5-foot bush hog, but it's had $1,000, $2,000 worth of welding and extra steel added to it and repairs over time. So it's a heavy duty bush hog, and I'm abusing it a bit today, but it's been a year since I've been out here, and everything is overgrown, and I got to get these shooting lanes done, and it's the only way to do it. So if I tear it up, I'll just have to get it fixed, but she's pretty beefed up. So okay, on that fast forward bumpy ride, we came from the truck intersection where I normally park my truck when I'm hunting, and we came down the road to one of my food plot areas. I showed you the condo on the right hand side as I was coming up, and then one food plot, which is the one behind me, on the left hand side. There's 3 food plots in this area. This is the biggest one, pushing close to an acre, and the other one is about a 1/4 acre, and then one might be 1/2 acre. This one has a feeder. I don't know if you can see it in front of the tractor, but there's a feeder in the corner of the plot. It's about 100 yards from the condo, and there's a feeder in the other plot behind the camera, the smaller 1/2 acre plot, and that's been 135 yards from the condo. Now, for those of you that are hunters out there and hunt public land or hunt wild land, wherever you hunt, and say, oh man, you're cheating, you're using feeders. Well, I say this, have you ever hunted Florida? Florida is some of the thickest land I've ever hunted, and I was stationed in the Air Force, so I've hunted in different areas around the country. I grew up in Virginia. You know, in the fall of the forest, you can see through them. You can see 100 yards, 200 yards. You got just lots of visibility. Here in Florida, especially here closer to the coast, there's it's planted pines and brush. There's really no oaks. There's no oak groves or anything of that nature. So everything is thick, and you can't see, literally, you can't see many times more than 5-10 feet in front of you. For that reason, when I first got this lease 13 years ago, I tried to hunt it kind of in that wild fashion and use tree stands against trees and climbing stands. But there's really, really low deer density here. We have about 2 square miles in this 1,200 acres, and our deer density is probably 15 deer per square mile, maybe 30 deer total use this lease, maybe a little more during the rut when some bucks come in, or during flooding on the river we might get an influx of some does or young bucks. But for the most part, there's not that many deer here. So you can sit in a 200 acre portion of this
of this lease and literally never see a deer. There's no deer sign, there's no deer tracks, there's no food there. So we learned quickly that we had to create food plots to attract the deer, and also because the deer here are, for lack of a better term, malnourished. They're small deer, and in 13 years we've seen a huge difference in the body weight of the does and the bucks. We're averaging about 100 pounds or so on our 3 to 5 year old does, and we're averaging 140 pounds or so on our 4.5 year old bucks. So we've probably brought their body weight up 10%, 10 pounds per animal or more. And all that is through food plots. Food plots do concentrate deer. Deer feeders do concentrate deer, but deer are not stupid. You still have to hunt the wind. And if you think you can set your clock to a deer or a deer feeder when it goes off, you're absolutely wrong. For example, last year I was hunting a particular buck and I had to sit for him 21 times. And 2 of those times, and again, that was over a food plot, 2 of those times I sat from 5 in the morning until it was dark. So I sat the whole time in a 4x4 pine box and he never showed. I run trail cameras, and over a 7-day period, he might have visited that pot or visited that feeder twice. So you got to put in your time, even with feeders and food plots. It's really the only way you're going to see deer, at least in this area of Florida, is if you have some sort of open space. And there's no guarantee. Deer are smart. They smell you one time and they blow, and they may not come back to that area again that season. So it's not easy. You need to have feeders and food plots, 1, to help the nutrition of the deer, and 2, to give you a reliable harvest opportunity. You could spend a lot of time sitting in your stands and not see deer. And we have a very limited harvest out here. Between the 3 active hunters that are on this lease, we only allow 3 deer per hunter. So that's 9 deer on 1,200 acres. So that's a relatively low deer harvest. And many times you're sitting out here and you're watching deer, and that's just fun. It's no fun to sit in a deer stand, from 5 in the morning till noon and not see a deer. So food plots give you not only the opportunity to harvest, but the opportunity to watch animals, to learn animals. I've watched bald eagles drop into these pots and grab this brush and use it for their nest. I've seen bobcats, I've seen raccoons, coyotes. We have a couple wild hogs here on the property, but I've never seen them in person. So anyway, I'm gonna get on this tractor and mow this plot. We'll capture some of that footage and just carry on throughout the day until I get all these plots mowed. So what I'm doing now is the thatch or the cut up grass is so thick that there's no way my tiller is going to go through that without getting bogged down. So I'm trying to cross cut it and just cut it up into really, really small pieces so it'll decompose quicker. It's beginning October. I'll plant maybe beginning to middle of November. So I need a month for the sun to break down this grass, and it's not going to break it down if it's all wadded up. So I'm going to go back and forth and cut it up. Not going to record that because there's only so much of that someone can watch. Okay, this area is bush hogged. I wanted to show this feeder pole. We have a lot of bears in the area. So when you're hunting in Florida and you use any kind of corn, soybeans, any kind of grain to entice the deer, you're gonna get a lot of bears. When there's bears in the pot, the deer won't come in. But anyway, this is a pine tree that I wrapped in tin and then created this 2x4 gantry with a pulley system to hold up the feeder. And this works great. But this is a solution I came up with to keep the bears from getting in your feeders. Otherwise, they'll get in the feeders, they'll hang on to them, they'll break your cable, and when you come back, you'll have a $200 feeder on the ground, all your corn gone. I've even lost a whole feeder before where the bears took the whole feeder. One more pot to do. I knew this would take a long time. Kind of dreading it, but at the same time needed to get out here and get ready for the hunting season. So I'm gonna rehydrate and go do that last pot. In that last clip, you saw me going backwards and forwards, just trying to get that little area there around that stump. I knew there was a stump there. It's been there for a long time. But that's the beauty and the value of a hydrostatic transmission. Well guys, that's a wrap. That was 9 hours, maybe 9.5 hours on that tractor, non-stop except for a couple times to blow out the radiator, get something to drink, and get a quick snack. So everything's done. I got both pot areas completely mowed, triple mowed in some areas. I got all the roads that I use to get to my areas done. So for 2021 hunting season, I'm bush hogged and I'm done. I shouldn't have to bring the bush hog back out here. Next time I come back out here with the tractor, I'll have the tiller on the back and the seed. I'll throw the seed on the ground, I'll till it in, I'll throw some clover seed on top, and then I'll cultipack it in, and it'll be good to go for the whole season, into the spring and into the summer of 2022. But that's all I've got for you. Hopefully you liked today's video. If you did, please click like, please click subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.